born Pearl Zane Grey on January 31st, 1872 in Zanesville, Ohio. Zane was the fourth of 5 children. His father was a dentist and his mother was the direct descendant of Colonel Ebenezer Zane, a commander in the Revolutionary War. Zane grew up with a cane pole in one hand and a baseball glove in the other. Married to Lena Elise Roth in 1905, Zane followed his father's wishes and became a dentist. But his first love was always the outdoors and writing about his adventures. Paid $10 for his first article, he gave up his practice to become a full-time writer. With Dolly's consistent encouragement and support, he finally sold his first novel, The Heritage of the Desert, to Harper & Brothers Publishers in 1910. Shortly thereafter, one of the greatest American Western novels ever written, Riders of the Purple Sage, was released. With literary success bringing financial security, Zane moved his family to Southern California and got into the film business. Since 1819, over 114 feature-length films have been produced based on his writings. Along with over 145 television episodes of Zane Grey Theater. Utilizing some of the biggest Hollywood stars of the time, Zane Grey Theater was a hit television series reaching millions of homes weekly. Zane fell in love with Catalina Island and bought a home there, and soon thereafter began to hunt the elusive and prized steelhead trout on Oregon's Rogue River. In 1916, Zane was first introduced to this incredible fishery by Mr. Lester from Long Key, Florida. In 1925, Zane decided to further explore this fascinating and primitive area. The only way to reach this section of the river was by horseback, hiking, or to run it with boats. Although the Rogue River is uniquely part of the American West, Zane's real passion laid in running its treacherous rapids and searching for the elusive steelhead trout that ascended upriver through the wilderness areas. Zane's youngest son, Lauren, recalls in his book entitled Tales of Freshwater Fishing, quote, "This time alone with my father was one of the singularly most touching experiences of my life. It was one of the only times in my life when I actually had my father all to myself, teaching me how to fly fish. The frustrations of not catching a steelhead were enormous, but as my father explained, 'Lori, a fisherman must learn how to stick.' These times alone with my father, when he was teaching me the fundamentals of fishing, brought us as close together as any father and son could be. Learning about the equipment, casting, and the river are all things that I have retained my entire life. Fishing is so much more than just catching fish. It's an opportunity for people to bond together in unspoken ways with one another and with all of God's creations." Zane Grey's Rogue River experiences were a love affair. As he wrote in his novel, The Rogue River Feud, quote, "The water was deep and green, swift and clear ice cold, as pure as the snows from which it sprang. The river had its source in the mountain under Crater Lake and glided its way through the Oregon forest, as if eager to begin the long leap down through the coastal mountains. The giant firs shaded it. The deer drank from it. The little black-backed trout rose greedily to floating flies, and in sunlit glades where the woods lightened, the wild lilac bloomed in a marvelous profusion of colors and sweet fragrance." For those of us who love to fish, Zane's words define the intangibles, the moments of solitary beauty and intimacy, the communion with nature that can't be explained, only experienced. America's western steelhead are an absolutely magnificent fish. Unlike the Pacific salmon, who die after spawning, steelhead return to the ocean to spawn several times, and today are still one of the most sought-after and prized catches for fly fishermen everywhere. Grey attested using bait for them and believed the true skill and test of any good angler lied in his ability to entice these weary fish to the fly. Unable to get bit with the flies in his arsenal, Grey put his instincts to work in creating and hand-tying his own unique patterns. Today, the art of fly tying continues to be an extremely personal and intriguing passion. Rarely do two individuals agree on any set pattern, and many keep their best producing flies top secret. Fly fishing is perhaps the ultimate angling challenge. Oftentimes, not demanding of the brute strength and power required when fishing the deeps, but rather demanding that an angler learn how to read, understand, and then imitate the subtlest of signs, demanding that one learn to approach without alarming, and ultimately learn how to present with such fluid skill that the fly becomes a mirror image on the water and of all life therein. It's no wonder that once one has immersed themselves in the sheer rapture of standing alone in the heart of nature, amongst God's most beautiful creations, and done battle with a magnificent steelhead, salmon, or trout, that one yearns to return to that moment for the rest of their lives. Zane's two consuming passions were writing and fishing, and at the end of a day he could oftentimes be found alone, deep in thought, capturing his feelings with pen and paper to later share with the world. Many of his greatest novels and westerns were written in these fish camps, or while on board ocean liners headed to and from California to places such as Tahiti, New Zealand, or Australia. A fisherman has many dreams, and from boyhood to manhood, one of mine was to own a beautiful white ship with sails like wings and sail into lovely tropical seas. This was the opening paragraph in Zane's renowned book, Tales of Fishing the Virgin Seas. His first visit after joining the ship was Cocos Island. Cocos Island is a tiny, uninhabited clip of land some 500 miles off the shores of Costa Rica. The beautiful shoreline of tropical Cocos Island, where the lacy white waterfalls like downward smoke poured from the green blossoming cliffs. Rumors of buried pirate treasure and ill-gotten bounty shrouded this island in mystery. Zane's next destination was the Galapagos, a barren cluster of volcanic islands located 500 miles west of Ecuador. Here they found the rare lizards of the sea, marine iguanas, ferocious looking but tame and harmless, beautifully colored with jeweled eyes, marine iguana grow to a length of 4 to 5 feet. The party found the islands fascinating with the abundance of marine and native plant life, made famous by both Charles Darwin and later the naturalist William Beebe. At Galapagos, Zane feverishly followed his new passion, which he described as, and I quote, "the hazardous new sport of photographing the sperm and killer whales on the surface." Today, 75 years later, we are all able now to share these epic adventures through Zane's foresight of having brought with him brave cinematographers who are willing to deal with heavy, cumbersome 35mm film cameras and equipment while working from unstable, round-bottomed skiffs. Large game fish were still not much in evidence, so they sailed north, stopping at a small village on the mainland of Mexico known as Zihuatanejo. Its primitive houses and natives had changed little since Cortez landed there some 300 years previous. Here, game fish of all sizes and species were in abundance. Offshore, Zane's party did battle with a relatively new fish species, the Pacific sailfish. Different from their smaller Atlantic cousins, Pacific sailfish grow to enormous size and length, and Zane called them, quote, "very spectacular and game." Rising the fish on teasers, they dropped back their rig baits on light tackle. Zane and his brother RC fought these spectacular sailfish on 6 and 9-thread linen lines, sometimes doing battle for hours before capturing their prize. White Ferrier Islands, just south of Zihuatanejo, were covered with guano and were home to millions of garnets and boobies. Here they found an abundance of species, including roosterfish along the rocks and huge schools of yellowfin tuna, or Allison tuna as they were called in those days, just offshore. Few species fight as hard as a big yellowfin. Having personally done battle with tuna up to 300 pounds, using state-of-the-art stand-up gear and 2-speed reels, I can't even imagine how hard and brutal these epic battles must have been using long rods and linen lines. If you've ever caught a big tuna, then you too can really appreciate the determination and perseverance that it took to land these magnificent fish. Having done battle with dozens of 100-plus pound yellowfin tuna, wahoo, and roosters at Zihuatanejo, Zane decided to guide the fishermen north, past Cabo San Lucas, and on up the Pacific side of Baja and home to Avalon and Catalina Islands. Having caught everything from white sea bass in Avalon Harbor to 100-plus pound bluefin tuna and a world record broadbill swordfish in 1926 off Catalina, Zane prepared for yet another adventure into the South Pacific. Zane was acutely aware of the planning required and the amount of equipment that was going to be necessary to make these trips of a lifetime successful. Few individuals have had as direct and as powerful an influence on the sport of fishing as has Zane Grey. Pioneering the development and use of teasers, or tarparinos as they were originally called, innovative drag systems and custom reels, Zane's passion for fishing was only matched by his never-ending quest to explore uncharted waters and battle giant fish. This was a time of innovation and the pioneering of creative new tackle. Never before had man attempted to do battle with powerful game fish weighing in at well over 1,000 pounds. Zane commissioned Mr. J.A. Cox, who was one of the most famous reel makers of the time, to build him a reel that would hold over 500 yards of 36-strand linen line. The Shaver Rod Company created special rods designed to handle this heavy-gauge linen. Murphy hickory rods, swastika linen lines, Pfluger swordfish hooks, and Arthur Kowalski custom-built reels and Hardy Brothers tackles were all part of his impressive arsenal. It was not long after his return from Mexico that Zane received a letter urging him to undertake a new fishing adventure from an English sportsman named C. Alma Baker, who lived in Russell, Bay of Islands, New Zealand. Baker enticed Zane with stories of huge game fish of every description, striped and giant black marlin, ferocious mako and thresher sharks, and a great variety of smaller fish as well. As the crew worked at setting camp, we quote Zane, "We worked all day at this pleasant and never-wearying task of making a habitation in the wilderness. Never am I happier than when so engaged. This nomad life is in the blood of all of us, though many comfort-loving people do not know it." Most of the New Zealanders' tackle was a variation of freshwater fly-fishing rod and reel that had been developed in England, with the reel placed underneath the rod. The custom of trolling was unknown to the New Zealanders. Mostly they drift fish with live or fresh dead baits on treble hooks. Consequently, the controversy arose with the local fishing clubs and Zane Grey's methods. From light tackle to custom-built heavy-duty reels, Zane prepared to do battle with the fish of his lifetime. 2 boats had been reserved for him, quite different than anything they had ever used. Close to 40 feet in length, 12 feet in beam, the cockpits were so deep that custom platforms had to be built from which they mounted the fighting chairs. The Marlin was used as the camera boat for the production crew, while Zane fished from the Alma G. Coweye was a lively bait fish, gray-green in color and shaped somewhat like a small salmon with large scales. The mouth was small and delicate, which fact accounted for a number of the bait that was hooked and lost. Literally thousands and thousands of coweye blanketed the inshore waters off New Zealand and were constantly being pushed to the surface by hungry predators. Zane's first fish included yellowtail, called by the local boatmen kingfish. This one was taken with a Wilson spoon. Zane's crew consisted of Captain Laurie D. Mitchell and local New Zealanders engineer Francis Aldridge and gaffman Peter Williams, who Zane called the best and coolest and strongest man who ever stood by my side with a gaff. Sight fishing for offshore game fish is one of the most challenging and exciting experiences an angler can have, as Zane proves here with a 300-plus pound mako. In Zane's first 2 days of fishing New Zealand, they raised 6 marlin on the teasers, the largest weighing 226 pounds. As Zane wrote in his Tales of Anglers El Dorado, New Zealand, 1926, quote, "The New Zealand coast is destined to become one of the most famous of all fishing waters. It will bring the best anglers from all over the world. The New Zealand waters are undoubtedly the most remarkable in the seven seas for magnificent game fish." My visit to New Zealand was prompted by Alma Baker and the New Zealand government, who wanted me to come and fish and write for the benefit of the sport, and to make it known to all anglers all over the world. During their 2 months spent fishing in New Zealand, Gray and Captain Mitchell accounted for 3 world records, and included such magnificent fish as the first swordfish ever caught on rod and reel in New Zealand waters, 3 black marlin from 685 to 976 pounds, 62 striped marlin with an impressive average weight of 264 pounds, with the largest striper topping the scales at 450 pounds, 23 mako sharks all over 150 pounds, 9 yellowtail all over 50 pounds, and the largest being Zane's 111-pound world record, 7 sand sharks from 200 to 700 pounds, all taken on wooden rod and linen line. An incredible feat, one that perhaps the world will never see again. As much as he loved to fish the blue water, Zane had fished freshwater since a child, and he couldn't resist the temptation of venturing into the streams surrounding the fish camp and trying his luck fly fishing for large rainbow trout. Rainbows were first introduced to New Zealand in 1856, miraculously enduring the 7,000-mile journey on board sailing ships. The trout eggs and small fry were carried on iced pickle barrels on sailing ships all the way from California's Russian River, and today are acclaimed as one of the strongest strains of rainbows to be found anywhere in the world. Prior to Zane's arrival in New Zealand, almost all the fishing had been done near the shoreline. No angler had ever run out to sea for any extent, and trolling, as was the practice of American anglers, was practically unknown. The use of teasers, being trolled behind a boat, had never even been heard of, and the fact of drawing billfish up to the surface was incomprehensible to the local boatmen and anglers. But with such an abundance of bait on the local shoals being constantly pushed to the top, it was obvious something big had to be there also, feeding just below the surface. The abundance of bait caused by the upwellings and current breaks throughout the Bay of Islands provided perfect feeding grounds for the untold numbers of game fish in the area. Instinctively, Captain Mitchell continued to fish where they had found bait. And as he gets bit, let's listen to Captain Mitchell's direct quote from the Tales of Anglers El Dorado, New Zealand. "We saw some bait close to the rocks. We ran over and I threw my yellowtail over the side. It was dead, but I thought I'd try it. And by gad, something took it right away. The fish ran off 200 yards of line. He felt as solid as Gibraltar. I couldn't do anything with him. We followed him and I fought for all that I was worth. I had been fighting him for nearly 4 hours when he took his last short run and stopped. After that, I could find that I could hold him, lead him, and drag him. He looked so tremendous that I was scared weak. My gad, it was an awful fight." Zane is quoted as saying, after seeing Mitchell's giant marlin, "It was not until the next morning that I had a good look at this great marlin. And though I thought I had prepared myself for something extraordinary, I had not done it justice. It was almost round, very fat, and full clear down in the tail, and as solid as a rock. Faint dark stripes showed through the black opal hue. The bill was short, and as thick as a spade handle at the point. Huge scars indented the broad sides, evident of many undersea battles. The length was 12 feet 8 inches, the girth 6 feet 2 inches. The spread of the tail was 4 feet, and her weight 976 pounds. Try as he might, Zane was unable to top Captain Mitchell's fish, although he did catch this nice 704-pound black, which was Zane's largest fish to date. The inspiration of having caught such a great marlin encouraged Zane to continue his quest. Everyone in camp worked hard preparing, checking, and rechecking the tackle and equipment, respooling the linen lines, and as Peter Williams cleans the Cox reels, Zane works hand in hand with Captain Mitchell, testing the drags and getting ready for another day on the water. Fishing near the small town of Russell in the Bay of Islands, they would line up landmarks or rock formations to locate their relative position to where they had fished previously. The sunken rocks and reefs were home to some of the largest yellowtail in the world, one of which established a new world record of 111 pounds caught by Zane on heavy tackle. Grey found that he needed extra heavy-duty gear to tackle the monsters of the South Pacific, and he had this reel, the largest reel ever made, built for him by Arthur Kowalski, which held 1,500 yards of 39-thread linen line. When the Australian government found out what had happened to tourism in New Zealand after Zane Grey's visit, they were eager to have him come to Australia. He was anxious to find out about Australia because it was as much a virgin territory for angling as New Zealand had been, or even more so because there were fewer, if any, deep-sea fishermen in Australia in the 1920s. He caught numerous marlin, including the 460-pound black, which set an Australian record. Even the production crew on board Zane's camera boat got in on some of the marlin action.
All right, Pete. Man up and sit on for luck. Good outfit.
Fishing the inshore reefs and drop-offs just outside the entrance to Sydney Harbor in about 200 feet of water. Here you can see Peter Williams slabbing up a nice 50-pound chunk of wahoo for bait using the dreaded airplane wire cable as leader. And shark fishing then is not much different than it is today. Among the many species of sharks that they caught in Australia, Zane's oldest son Romer can be seen here helping to bring his first huge thresher shark up for weighing. Numerous large threshers were landed, which they called the, quote, rare species of the leaping green fox thresher shark, whatever that means. Today's all-tackle IGFA world record thresher was taken off New Zealand in February of 1981 and weighed in at an impressive 802 pounds, beating Romer's fish shown here by only a few pounds. Threshers are known for having large eyes and keen eyesight, with tails almost as long as their bodies. Additional species included this beautiful 890-pound vicious man-eater known as, quote, the death shark, or the bronze whaler shark, which are capable of swimming up freshwater rivers. Other species caught included makos, tigers, nurse sharks, and great whites. While in Australia, Zane caught many varieties of shark and learned for the first time the problems Australians experienced with man-eating sharks. More people had been bitten and injured by sharks there than anywhere else in the world. But Zane's real passion was still in his quest to become the first person in history to ever land a 1,000-pound billfish on rod and reel.
Whoa! Right! Get that rod, Pete! Hurry now! Look out that line! Be careful now. I think I can hold him. Put the rod in, Bill. All right, well. Harness quick. Pete, I think we got a chance yet. All right, now we'll get in. Let's see the leader, Pete. Get ready. Grab it this time, if you can. There you are. Get ready now, Bill.
Even though billfish were his passion, while they were in Australia, they caught mostly shark, as can be seen here in this rare archive footage of Zane fighting a giant tiger. This beautiful tiger topped the scales at 1,031 pounds. Even though the equipment has evolved quantum leaps since Zane Grey did battle with giant sharks just outside of Sydney Harbor, techniques remain much the same. Fresh-caught bonita were utilized for scent and hung on slab baits with 14-aught hooks and wire leaders. Fortunately, the linen lines of yesteryear are no longer, but the thrill of the battle still remains the same. Hired by the Australian government to help eradicate the man-eating shark problem that they had around Sydney, Zane became an instant celebrity, and in so doing, helped put Australia on the map as a premier big fish destination. While in Australia, Zane set an Australian record with this beautiful black marlin. And as we all know, today, Australian waters continue to offer some of the most prolific black marlin fishing grounds in the world. However, Zane's lifetime goal had been to catch one of the grand billfish of the South Seas. Tahiti was the answer, and upon the fishermen's arrival in Tahiti, they were greeted with open arms. In the 1920s, many of the world's most famous writers found this tropical paradise irresistible. With its warm tropical breezes and friendly people, stories of Tahiti became legendary, and in all, Zane Grey visited this island a total of 8 times during the course of his life. Ever the perfectionist, Zane was joined by Captain Mitchell and Peter Williams here on board the Fisherman for some last-minute preparations before heading out on the Alma-G, which Mitchell and Williams had brought across from New Zealand on her own bottom. As prolific and abundant as the bait was in New Zealand, it was virtually non-existent in Tahiti. Daily they searched for bait, finding only an occasional bonita, which rapidly spoiled in the warm waters. Leaving the lagoon, Zane called these breakers the wild horses of the sea. Without any real knowledge of the local waters and conditions, Zane spent 86 consecutive long, hard days of toil without catching a fish, until the fish of his lifetime appeared behind the boat. Let's listen to Zane's account of this incredible fish in his own words as we quote from his book, Tales of Tahitian Waters. Suddenly I heard a sounding, a vicious thump on the water as Peter yelled, "Jesus!" The reel screeched, and out where the bait had been showed a swirling, closing hole in the boiling white-green water. The other boys piled into the cockpit to help Peter get the teasers in. Before this was even started, the fish ran out 200 yards of line. Then turning to the right, he tore off another 100, all in a few seconds. Then a white splash, high as a tree, shot up, and out of which leaped the most magnificent of all the leaping fish I had ever seen. "Giant marlin!" yelled Peter. This glorious fish made a leap of 30 feet at least, low and swift, which gave me time to gauge his enormous size and species. Here at last, on the end of my line, was the great Tahitian swordfish. He looked monstrous. He was pale, shiny, great in color with broad stripes of purple. When he hit the water, he sent up a splash like the flying surf on the reef. Out he blazed again, faster, higher, longer, whirling the bonita around his head. The white line melted, smoked, burned off the reel. I smelled the scorching. It burned through my gloves. "Water! Somebody pour water on this reel!" 500 yards from us, over a third of a mile, he came up to pound and beat the water again into a maelstrom. I began to pump the reel as never before in all my life. How precious that big spool, that big reel handle. We got back 200 yards of the 500 out before he was off again. We ran down upon him. I worked as before, desperately holding on. I was completely winded, and the hot sweat poured off my arms and breast. He was fast, angry, and heavy. How his tail pounded the leader. The short, powerful strokes vibrated all over me. His power to leap was beyond credence. This swordfish was so huge that when he came out in a dazzling, swift flight, my crew went mad. Blisters began to smart on my hands. My swordfish, with short, swift runs, took us 5 miles further out, and then welcomed the sea, brought us back, all without leaping. He never sounded after that first dive. The bane of an angler is a sounding fish, and here in Tahitian waters, where there is no bottom, it spells catastrophe. The marlin slowed up and took to milling, a sure sign of a rattled fish. I taxed myself to the utmost and spared nothing. In another hour, which seemed only a few minutes, I had him whipped and coming. I could lead him. The slow strokes of his tail took no more line. Then he quit wagging. I heaved and wound. With the end of the double line over my reel, I screwed the drag up tight. The fish was in sight. Suddenly I felt tugs and jerks at my fish. "Sharks!" I yelled. "By God, they're on him!" Peter roared. And then there was a single enormous roar of water, and I saw a blue tail so wide I thought I was crazy. It threw a 6-foot shark into the air. "Rope him, Charlie," yelled Peter. "The rest of you fight off the tigers." My heart had apparently ceased to function, to capture that glorious fish only to see it devoured before my eyes. John ran forward a few rods into clear water so we could see. My swordfish was still there, his beautiful body bitten here and there, his tail almost severed. I vowed we could do nothing but tow him to camp, but Peter made an attempt to lift him onto the boat, and all 6 of us hauled on the ropes. I could not stand erect, and my hands hurt as we ran for the nearest pass. I went ashore and waited impatiently to see the marlin hauled out in the sand. It took a dozen men to drag him in, and when they at last got him under the tripod, I approached, knowing I was to have a shock. His length was 14 feet 2 inches, his girth 6 feet 9 inches, and his weight was 1,040 pounds. This was truly the crowning achievement in Zane Grey's illustrious fishing career. He had become the first man in history to ever hook and land a marlin weighing over 1,000 pounds. Zane wrote from his heart, and as his son Lauren later wrote in his dedication of his book entitled Zane Grey's Odyssey, quote, "My father's writings were a reflection of his universal love of nature and of the nobility of the human spirit." As we wrap up our tribute to Zane Grey, we'd like to extend our thanks to Zane's son Lauren and his granddaughter Susan for their support in making this program possible. Without their help and assistance, this project would never have taken flight. We'd also like to thank John Dowdy of JD's Big Game Tackle for the endless hours of research he devoted in making sure that every aspect of this production was as true and authentic representation of Zane Grey's life and adventures as humanly possible. We'd also like to thank you for your support, and as we bring this tribute to a close, enjoy these simple, never-before-published words from Zane Grey. In my boyhood, I was a hunter of the brooks and streams, and my first fishing tackle was a willow or mustard stick and a piece of cord and a bent pin. Pumpkin seed sunfish, goggle eyes, bullheads, chubs, and shiners were the little fish of those Ohio waters of my youth. Even today, the names bring a thrill, a haunting something from the days that are no more. They sound like poetry. From these minnows, I progressed to angling for black bass and trout, and for many years, rivers and lakes, mountains and streams were a passion with me. How well I knew the rocky shores of the noble inland waters, the shady, shelving bank of a lily-dotted lake, the swift, amber-colored brooks under the hemlocks. Like Van Dyke, I can never see a little river without wanting to fish it. But of late years, most of my angling energies and contemplations have been devoted to the sea. As I have written to try and make the multitude love the open and the wild, and the fast disappearing loneliness and beauty of the Southwest, so have I written to anglers of the thrill, the mystery, and the tremendousness of the sea. Whether an angler stands in the foaming surf, with the sweet salt scent of the Atlantic in his face, or canoes the shallow white shoals of the coral reefs, or trolls from a launch in the warm blue waters of the Gulf Stream, or scans the vast heaving glassy swells of the Pacific, it is all the same. There is a fascination, a reward apart from the capture of fish. Inland waters lull me to a dreamy repose and content. The babble of a brook under a gray old cliff has a haunting music. A wide, swift green river, bordered with pines, is a joy. The placid forest-skirted lake, with the white camp tent gleaming on shore, is something devoutly to be wished. But there is more to the ocean. Salmon fishermen who have mastered the highest art of angling must never forget that salmon run up out of the sea. It is the sea that makes the silver lord of the rivers the incredible fish he is. It is the sea that makes the pearl-tinted steelhead of the road so savage and wonderful. It is the salt water that develops the dynamic bonefish, which is to say that the sea is the mother of all fish, and for that matter, of all life on earth. It may take me a long time to tell what I have learned from the sea, and I will never tell all, because I am forever learning. But the capture of fish is not all, nor half the secret of the spell of the sea. If I write, it will be to impress this, as well as to narrate an adventure with some denizen of the deep. Byron sang, "There is a rapture on the lonely shore." It is true, and that rapture is 1,000,000 times more to me than the fighting of a fish. Nevertheless, I would not want to develop intellectually or spiritually to such a point that I would never want to pull hard on a fish again. I confess to a desire to retain a little of the barbarian. It's been of the highest honor to be able to bring you this program in recognition of one of the sport's all-time greats, Pearl Zane Grey. On behalf of the entire production crew here at Inside Sport Fishing, we'd like to thank Dr. Lauren Gray and Susan and the entire Gray family for making this series possible. We'd like to thank you for joining us, and remember, believe in your passion. I'm Michael Folks, and we'll look forward to seeing you again next time, right here on Inside Sport Fishing.